Guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. Today we're going to take a look at the new Byredo Dysco palette. It is gorgeous. These warm tones, one look at it, you might not think summer, but the look that I have is very much like a retro summer look, and I think they nailed it with these shades and its undertones. All the colors here are metallic and they're very warm. Let me swatch it for you in just a sec. These palettes, by the way, the shape of them are really quite different from anything else on the market. This is inspired by raindrops. And when you look at this, it makes sense because as a raindrop hits a pool of water, the ripples you can kind of see here. So that's really cool. This is also a very sturdy compact. These eyeshadows are made in Italy and they have a shelf life of 12 months. So from Byredo's website, taking a look at the product description, this is their latest addition to the eyeshadow 5 colors collection. They also have 3 more, I guess, color stories in this kind of raindrop compact. Dysco offers a luminous new harmony of warm neutral shades housed in our treasured Oyster Compact. The long-lasting eyeshadow formula gives perfect coverage with rich color payoff, lightweight, creamy, and blendable. Dysco's radiance lasts all night, however many dance floors you wear it on. These shadows are supposed to be lightweight, easy to blend, long-lasting, and intense colors. So let's go ahead and swatch each of the shades. We have Feather. It's a pearly peachy beige. And then Haze, a shimmering rose gold. This is gorgeous. This is what I have all over my lids. It's beautiful. And then Flare is a bold, glittering metallic gold, followed by Velvet, a satiny, soft bronze. Look at that. No skipping whatsoever. And this was just caused from the angle where the bone is. Amazing. These shadows are beautiful. And then finally, Faux Fur, a warm matte brown with coppery shimmer. So Faux Fur is the least creamy of all the shades, and it feels more like a powdery eyeshadow than a creamy metallic, but it is still easy to use and easy to blend. And then the next notable difference in texture is from Velvet. While it is a beautiful metallic, it's not quite as soft as Flare and Haze. Flare and Haze are shades that you can apply all over your lid, blend out, and that's your look right there. I think you can do the same with Velvet, but they're not going to be as kind of creamy and perhaps not quite as malleable. I think it'll still be fine. It won't give you any issues, but it is a little bit different from the other two. And then finally with Feather, same thing. I think Feather's texture is closer to Haze and Flare than it is to Velvet and Faux Fur. And because usually when I hand swatch, I go in with so much pressure, I get these little fallouts here, but I can easily blend them or diffuse it into the swatch itself. And so you can see how easy it is to work with the shade. These are just beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous. Well, let's head on to the demo. I will summarize all my thoughts at the end. I'll see you guys then. Hi guys. I'm going to add a snippet in the middle of my video. I'm actually filming this after I completed everything else. So I mentioned the compact is a raindrop compact. They call it an oyster compact on the website. So what I have here is a promotional, PR card, set of cards actually, that I received. And I want to talk about a little bit more about the idea behind the compact and the eyeshadow, the 5 eyeshadows. I think this is just, good and maybe fun information to share. So on it, I'm just reading from the card, regarding the eyeshadow 5 colors. In this initial offering, and they're referring to the initial color stories of the Raindrop or Oyster Compact. The eyeshadow 5 colors is built around 3 stories: Sociomancer, Siren, and Corporate colors. Each compact features 5 pressed powder colors utilizing 3 different finishes: matte, metallic, and ultra glitter. Lightweight and long-lasting with easy-to-blend textures, the palette encourages the wearer to apply with the fingertips. Its 5 colors reflecting the 5 fingers: intense, pure, and radiant. The colors are housed in a distinctive metal raindrop compact. The undulating, ergonomic metal case mimics the ripples of a drop falling on water. Here there is a notion of the glamorous cosmetic cases of the past now made for the future. So I wanted to leave that here with you, which is why I called it the Raindrop Compact, but when I look on the website and at the end of the video, I refer to it as the Oyster Compact. So either way, I think this does remind me of an oyster shell, and I think, you know, this itself is aptly, you can describe as oyster, but I do feel like this reminds me of ripples from water as it falls into a puddle, as a drop falls into a puddle. So, all right, let's get back to the rest of the review. I'm going to put the shade Haze all over the lid. And then I'm gonna go in with a fluffier brush to blend out the shade. And the shade is so beautiful that I would be happy just wearing this with some eyeliner and mascara. Like, I would be pretty happy with this look. For the demo, we're gonna try to use more shades from the palette. So next, I'm going to go into Velvet, this shade here, and we're adding that to the outer corners. And then I'm going to go back in with a different brush to blend the shade out further into the crease. Then I'm dipping into Flare, and we're adding Flare right here. And then I'm also blending the shade into Velvet up on the crease. I'm going to put on some foundation concealer, then we'll come back for the rest. I'm going to take the shade Feather here, and I'm adding that to the inner corners. And then taking Faux Fur, I am lining just the corner here under the eyes. This is a pretty deep shade, so I want to go pretty light. And then I'd like to blend it out with a brush we used before, and the previous brush we dipped it into Velvet. So I'm going to just add Velvet on top of Faux Fur, just to smoke out the corners a little bit. And finally, we're going back into Flare, and we're adding that along the rest of the lower lash line. For blush, I'm going with Suku's Akatsuki Tsuge. This has a good amount of orange and peach tones to it, which I think is just going to be perfect to go with this look. And then I'm going to add some liquid liner for drama. This is a brown liquid liner, by the way, from Clinique, and I didn't want to go with black as a stark contrast since we have such warm shades, a lot of brown, coppery tones. I just want to stick with something similar, so we're going with brown. And for lips, we're going to go with Hermès's Beige Ébloui. This is the finished look. I love this look. I love how easy and quick it was to put together. After I added Haze, which is the rose gold shade, I'd wanted to stop because I thought this is just great. You know, I blended out a little bit. Maybe I deepen it just a little bit in the outer corners for that dimension with velvet or faux fur, and then I'm good. But of course for the demo, we want to try all of the shades if possible, and we were able to do that. Depending on your skin tone, you could also use the really light shade Feather, which I have on the inner corners of my eyes, and you could put that all over your lid too. Deepen it with a little bit of Haze or Flare, you know, whatever floats your boat, and you have a look. This is amazing. This palette is fantastic, and what a surprise. Every time Byredo releases something, they don't necessarily do a lot of, you know, advanced PR, give you a lot of notice, unlike some of the other brands we're familiar with. And so when I learned that they were releasing this, I thought, wow, what a gorgeous palette. I'm definitely gonna get this. And then you get it, it's fantastic. It's just, I think it deserves to be more widely recognized or hyped about, I guess, because the quality is really great. Another thing about the eyeshadows I want to let you guys know is there is a little bit of kick up. When I go in for, you know, finger swatches, I always put quite a bit of pressure to get a lot of product. So there's definitely kick up from that. But from the brush too, I also get a little bit of kick up. You don't have to go in with a lot of pressure. You pick up product like very easily, and typically there's a lot. You can always go back for a second or third application if you need. So that's just something to be aware of. There is a little bit of flaking with the really creamy metallic shades like these three here, and I think you can kind of see that texture. But not much of a deterrence. I flick my brushes and it gets rid of the excess for the most part. I didn't have a lot of fallout after I completed my eye look, and usually I go in with a Q-tip to clean things up, so I'm able to see that there wasn't a lot, not really an issue. And before we go, I do want to compare Disco to another Byredo palette that I have, and it's not the Oyster Compact, it's not the other color stories of the same line, but it's actually I guess a full-size palette. This is Prismic, a limited edition palette from Byredo that they released this year, so fairly recent. And you can see here the shades come in a lot of different textures, mattes, metallics, and some shades that appear metallic but actually have a glittery finish, and they're quite soft. So this is a lot different from from the artistic direction of these Oyster Compacts where it's one theme. This one encourages a lot of experimentation and play. When you look at this, it might not speak to you intuitively, you know, it didn't to me. So it was just a lot of playing around with different shadows. And look at this green. Isn't that amazing? The texture of this green swampy shade is probably closer in between velvet and faux fur. So the texture of these shadows here are different than the metallics you find in here. So really interesting. They keep releasing things that are surprising. And again, they don't do a lot of PR ahead of time. There is some, but not a lot. So you just learn about it as they get released or as they're about to be released. And when you get them, you realize, wow, like this is pretty great. It's not quite like anything else that's available on the market right now. And finally, because we were just looking at eyeshadows from another brand who released, I believe, makeup for the first time, from House of Sillage, I do want to compare some of these eyeshadows to House of Siage's Quint. So this is the House of Siage Quint that they released, I think just under a week ago. I do find that the metallics here, there are texture-wise some similarities with the Byredo Dysco. I think notably this shade here, which I don't have the names memorized. This deep shade is called Daydream, and then the other shade that I swatched is Innocence. So Daydream does remind me in texture of like maybe Flare, in between Flare and Velvet. It's very creamy, blendable, easy to work with. And then Innocence, which has a very light payoff. Let me also swatch the center shade, which is Joyride. Joyride is also very soft. Yeah. They're just not as creamy as the metallics from Byredo, but they're still very easy to work with. Color payoff is excellent. Well, we have back-to-back really strong Quint releases from two different companies who recently just released makeup. Byredo, a year ago, that's when they started. House of Siage, they released their first pieces a week ago. So very interesting. It's always really nice to see new players in the market that come up with really great products that are easy to use and you're excited to use them. Let me know below if you have any questions about this palette. I absolutely love it. This is probably my favorite warm tone palette that I have purchased so far in the year. And speaking of warm tone palettes, I have a very warm tone palette released at the end of last year from Viseart. This is from the Étendue line, Minxette. Some of the shades may look similar and we can do some swatches. I think there are a couple, like this shade here, maybe these two here, that might align with this shade, and maybe this, you know, warm, I guess, pinky peachy shade. So why don't we swatch Viseart. So from Viseart we have Hana, and then Mahogany, and Apricot. Apricot may have some similarities to this one here, Haze, but I think it has more pink. Yeah, it has more pink. And Hana is almost like an in-between Flare and Velvet. So not quite the same, but you can say they have similar ideas, just warm, really warm shades with some really nice metallics. And obviously this palette is entirely metallic. Well, there you go. Let me know below if you have any questions about the palette. If you want me to do some comparison swatches, I can share it on the community tab of YouTube for you guys to have a look. And if you're thinking of the palette, I really enjoy it. You know, this is something that I am gonna look forward to wearing tomorrow when I go out to run just errands. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.